So over the last couple of weeks, I've been able to test out a bunch of different graphics cards, but then Asus reached out and sent over this massive Asus ProArt PC for me to play around with for a couple of weeks. So let's chat about it. So let's start with what this is, and then we can chat about how it performed and why you would potentially choose ProArt parts over standard gaming hardware. So for those of you that aren't aware, ProArt is Asus's range that is designed for creators, or at least aimed more towards the professional users, just like ROG is aimed more towards gamers. Now ProArt as a range has a bunch of different hardware that you can buy, like we see here with GPUs, motherboards, coolers, cases, and so much more. And on these devices, just like all their others, they are made with creators in mind. Now with this PC, we have as many ProArt parts as possible. So let's start with the internals. So at the heart of this build, we have the Asus ProArt Z790 Creator Wi-Fi, and visually this is a very subtle motherboard with all black styling, zero RGB, and some accent in translucent plastic and gold. For me personally, it does have an elevated look and it does match the styling of a professional user that might be looking for something that isn't flashy but still has an element of style and sophistication. Now just because it isn't gamer flashy doesn't mean that this motherboard isn't powerful. It does have a lot of high quality components on it, giving you great quality and performance out of this board. But what makes ProArt motherboards great are the things that you usually don't get with other motherboards on the market unless you go very high end, which then tends to be way more expensive compared to these. So the first thing is the addition of both 2.5 gigabit and 10 gigabit LAN connections, which are great if you're looking to work directly off of a server, for example, without needing to download and upload all the time. Plus you also have a ton of USB ports as well as 2 USB 4 ports, which are great for connecting different devices like drawing tablets, etc. to your build, which can come in really handy for creators and professionals. So those really do add a lot of value compared to a standard gaming motherboard, as gamers and general users don't tend to need all of those extra ports. Now under the hood, we have the i7-14700K, which I have done a review on and is great for multi-core tasks, which is ideal for 3D modeling, animation, and such. And when I tested the CPU in my build, it performed really well with the video editing and creative work that I usually do. Now to cool that i7, we have the ProArt LC420 water cooler, which is honestly just a really plain looking cooler, but it does match the aesthetic of the entire build really well. I also love the temperature gauge. That is just this line that shows you the temperature of the CPU. But once again, don't let looks deceive you. This cooler is really capable, and even under high loads, it was able to keep the CPU really cool, which is the most important part at the end of the day. Then when it comes to memory, we have 64 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, which should be plenty for even more advanced tasks. And then on the graphics side, we have the RTX 4060 8GB, which isn't a bad GPU, but I would have loved something slightly more beefy for a PC of this caliber, as everything else seems to be higher end compared to the GPU. Now Asus do make higher end GPUs, and you can even buy ProArt 4080s and 4080 Supers, so whatever you need this PC to do, you will be able to find a GPU to match the task. Plus the added benefit of these graphics cards are that they are usually smaller in size compared to their gaming counterparts. So if you're looking for a smaller graphics card for your build, then these could also be a great option for that. And then there is the case. And this is the ProArt Case PA602, and this thing is massive. Even with the full build in it, there was still plenty of room, but in terms of specs, this case weighs 19 kilograms, has a bunch of different I/O ports like 2 USB 2s, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports, 1 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port, as well as a headphone and mic combo port. You also have a ton of space for drives and cooling, plus it actually looks really cool, and the overall colors of this build for me was great. Then at the back you have wheels to make it easier to roll around, once again mainly because of the size and the weight, but you also have these built-in handles if you need to lift and carry it up and down stairs, for example. Now one really cool feature as well is these smart filters, which can detect dust in the filters to warn you if there's too much dust in the filter and just remind you to clean it, which will help extend the life of those really nice internal components. Now this PC is of course ProArt focused, with all of the ProArt parts from the motherboard all the way to the GPU and everything in between. and thus I treated it like a PC made for creators. But just know that this PC will still be able to run most games at high frame rates in 1080p and even 2K. So if you're looking for this for work, but then also use it for gaming on the side, then it will be more than enough for that as well. But in terms of pure creative performance, it does exactly what it needs to do. I played around in Blender creating the donut model, I edited some photos as well as videos, and even did some design work. And for all of those tasks, it performed really well, but it was exactly what I was expecting, as this PC is almost an exact double of my current PC, except this is all ProArt and mine isn't. But then why buy ProArt anyway? Take for example the motherboard. Even though spec-wise it will perform almost identically to other gaming motherboards, it does have other features that gaming motherboards don't always have, and it is clear when you look at the I/O on the back. Things like a 10 gigabit LAN connection might not be something important to a gamer or having a ton of USB ports, but those are things that matter to creatives and professional users. Plus, these ProArt motherboards tend to come in at a slightly better price compared to their gaming counterparts that have those, as they usually need to look at extreme motherboards, which aren't cheap. Now, Asus says every aspect of ProArt series motherboards are built to remove barriers and deliver optimal performance to content creators who work in 3D modeling and rendering, animation or media production, and that the series empowers you to concentrate on your creativity and expand what is possible. For me, even though ProArt components might not be a must for creators, and they might not even have specific specs that are unique just to them, but they are made with creators and professionals in mind, and thus if you are someone that fits that box and you are looking at getting yourself a PC that is focused on work first, then I would highly recommend giving ProArt parts a try, and who knows, maybe you might just fall in love with it. And then, until next time, cheers.